Welcome back to Nerf Diagnostic and Repair. I'm Captain Xavier, and on this show I go over diagnostic techniques and repair techniques for blasters. Usually it's blasters that have been sent to me by you guys, but I haven't been able to accept any for a while, which is why I haven't had this show for a while. This one was actually sent to me by a fan quite some time ago, and at the time I didn't have anywhere to repair it. There was something wrong with the original circuit board and it was not properly working, and I tried testing the switches were fine. So it was something wrong with the board, and I do not know enough about circuit boards to have been able to repair that, and so there wasn't any way to repair it and maintain select fire that I knew. However, the option that did exist was to simply rewire it as if it were a hyperfire and just make it permanently full auto. That was kind of what I was planning to do, because the guy said, well, if it doesn't work, you can just go ahead and keep it. And then this kit came out. And this kit was sent to me by NF Strike to review, and it is a upgrade and repair kit for the regulator. And it replaces the original board and original sensors and original selector switch with this board, which has its own sensors and its own selector switch and its own board. And it's pretty much completely drop-in. If you want a full build guide on how that works, I recommend going to Walcom S7's channel. He has an installation guide on it, and I would recommend you take a look at that. The link will be down in the description. But it really is pretty much drop-in. You cut all of the wires that were on the board. They were all connected right here. Just clip them right off. And then take out the original sensors and the original switch and any other green board that's in there. You can take all of the green board out. If you want to resolder the motors to not have those little resistors or thermistors or whatever those are on there, you can do that. I didn't, and I believe on Walcom's video he did, because the blaster was sent to him. Someone had already modified it, and I believe they rewired it for 2S, but had burned out the board. So they sent it to him, and he installed one of these kits, and it works beautifully. If you go to NF Strike's website, they have a picture of where everything needs to plug in. It's labeled on there, but it's not labeled as easily as I would like. But there are 10 spots where you can plug in cables, and you should have 10 cables, I believe. You might have to disable the motor braking. But by clipping all the things out and then just putting them in, and it comes with a little screwdriver so that you can put them in without having to solder. I'm actually at this point tempted to go ahead and solder them, because they keep pulling free of these, and they're upside down in there, which makes them really hard to get to. The two for the pusher motor are on the top part of the board, but the others are all on the underside of the board, and it makes it difficult to actually get to them. I wish they'd been soldered onto the other side, and I could either unsolder it and switch it over so that I could solder from this side, or just solder to these posts, but they're kind of close together, so I haven't pulled that trigger yet. But other than that, everything in here is still stock motors, wheels, cage. I am tempted, of course, since I'm running it on 2S. I'm running mine on 2S as well, because the stock motors can take that just fine. Probably I believe these take a hyperfire cage, so there are upgraded cages out there. And then I would be tempted to put Michelle 2s and some nicer wheels in to actually make this have some zing, because this pusher motor is perfectly capable of operating on 2S, and this thing actually then has a decent rate of fire, even for the select fire. It's not quite as fast as, say, my auto strifes or my select fire strifes, but it has a high enough rate of fire to be functional. And if you were to run it on 3S instead of 2S and up this to, say, Valkyries or Krakens, then you'd have the snappy rate of fire that you get on those other kits. Because this motor is, I don't know what it is. It's not a 130. It's probably a 230. And it can take the juice, especially if you take the green board off there. So if you have a dead regulator, or you just really want to be able to upgrade your regulator and still have it select fire, my advice to you is just going to be, get this kit. It's, I think, like $30-some. I'll have a link to it down in the description as well. It's very easy to install, other than having these wires kind of pop loose, and the battery cage needs to fit right past them, so you you do need to do some cable management to keep them out of the way and to make sure that they're not getting smashed when you pull the trigger and all of that jazz. But once you've got it all in there, it doesn't require any soldering per se. I did some soldering because I redid the wiring on the flywheel cage a little bit, but where these wires were cut, these are the original stock wires. All the wires that go to the trigger switches, those are the stock wires. The wires that are coming out of the battery housing are, of course, that you will have to replace. If you want to go to 3S, you're going to have to either get a pre-soldered XD60 connector, or you're going to have to solder up an XD60 connector. I used pre-made JST connectors because that's what my little 2S are. They are JST, so that made that even easier. I didn't have to solder anything on there, and yeah, it's definitely worth it. I'm going to go ahead and button this up and show you how it functions now. This came to me broken and missing most of the screws and missing a part of the front rail, which is the real bummer. I need to check Thingiverse and see if there's a replacement rail file for this. I kind of doubt it. I'll probably just take that bit of rail off entirely and just replace it with a blank area, because that would actually be quite simple to just make a cover that just goes right there. Alright, let's toss a couple more screws in and make sure this thing still works. Alright, plug in my LiPo, which these tiny ones, there's enough room for like 3 of them in this battery housing because this thing is meant to take C-cells. And when we pull the triggers, sure enough, the lights start blinking. Now, here's the one downside. I have no idea how this thing works. It has a 4-directional hat, which is also a button, and poking the thing makes it do stuff, but I don't know what. Supposedly, there may very well be an ammo counter built in, because this is the same thing that they have in the V6 Select Fire kit for the Strife, which has ammo counting, and you can change the voltage that it takes, and you can change the rate of fire. The rate of fire I did manage to figure out, I'm pretty sure, but I don't remember how now. Let's see if we can figure it out. By holding the button to one side or the other, you can make it say things. That one's not doing anything. It doesn't do the same things that the V6 kit does, so I'm not entirely sure. Okay, holding the button down allows you to change the rate of fire, and I assume, yep, so speed is rate of fire, and you can crank it up, and then it goes back to 3 dashes and blinking what looks like voltage, but it's showing 3 different voltages, 3 different numbers, I don't know. But let's go put some darts through it just so you can see the difference. Any of you who have a regulator will immediately be able to see the difference in the performance. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Lollygag.
Yes. Alright. So I'm not going to bother with Chrono because it's got stock wheels and motors and all that, but the rate of fire is what makes a difference. So one, it's a lot snappier on the trigger. Pretty much immediately responsive, which the other one was not. The 3-round burst is quite snappy. That is acceptable, and that's on 2S. On 3S, it would be even faster. And then full auto. Yeah. That is an acceptable select fire blaster, in my opinion. So, yeah. Yeah, so, if your regulator is broken or you want to upgrade it, get that kit. It's available on NF Strike. Link will be in the description. And it pretty much drops in. Very cool. All right, let's look at the next item that I have to tinker with. Nerf Diagnostic and Repair is sponsored by Foam Blast, who sent me this magnificent screwdriver in my colors. It's exactly the right size for pretty much every Nerf blaster out there, and I love it. Check out their website at foamblastshop.com for all your Nerf modding needs. Alright, the next item that we are looking at is a God Hopper that does not want to properly feed. And that was all the information I was given, that it would not properly feed no matter how much ammo you put in it. So I'm going to put a handful of ammo in it and see what it does. I can see the problem already. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I see the problem. Okay. I'll see if I can show you guys the problem. I kind of doubt it's going to come out clearly. I can explain it though. So, this black part is slightly too long and is preventing the balls from actually feeding all the way down into the belt. So they're getting caught and are hovering just above the actual conveyor belt that's supposed to feed them. So I'm gonna, I guess, trim it? See if that's enough material off. If it is, then I'll have to do that for the whole length. Yep. Didn't have to take off much. It will now feed slightly, but we're gonna take off a bit more. Nope, we're gonna have to take some more off. Quite a bit more, I think. Okay. So, I was hoping to avoid having to actually cut it all the way through, but I think I'm gonna have to. So, we're gonna take it to a fancier tool. Alright. Now I'm convinced it's not going to interfere. And now, a word from our sponsor.
Purple.
How terribly fitting. Alright, testing the feed. Oh, we got a jam. What? Oh, one of those super squishy ones. One of those super squishy ones got sucked in. I'm gonna throw that away. Make sure we're still okay. A few more rounds. Whoop, one more. There we go. All right. It now feeds properly. So the issue was that this piece was too long and was actually preventing the rounds from being able to fall in to the actual belt. So I cut it down, so now it looks like a comb, and now it does in fact feed properly. Don't know if anyone else has had that problem. I haven't heard of it. It may just be a print failure. Somehow it got stretched, or it was at slightly the wrong angle, or what. But now my friend's God Hopper will in fact feed properly. Excellent. All right, well, that's all I actually have for diagnostic and repair at the moment. If any of you out there are still waiting on stuff to get back to you, ping me one more time. After I did the last one, I know a bunch of you did, and then life happened, and I'm hoping to get everything mailed out before Thanksgiving. So ping me one last time, and I thank you for your patience and apologize for the terrible, terrible wait. I will start taking repair requests again probably next year once this place gets a little bit more settled. I am also going to be working on repairing a vast majority of the arsenal from Afterworlds. They have a lot of dead blasters that they have as loaner blasters for Z-Camp and new players and all of that are in an absolutely despicable state. I'm hoping they will get those to me, and I will start working on those, and we'll get to look at some extreme cases of disrepair and damage and see what can be done, and that should actually be a lot of fun. So stay tuned for that, and thank you for watching.